All right, so moving now, more or less still sticking with TV, but actually we're gonna jump into a mini series, right? One that I managed to pick up on my radar, right? Which is called The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray, right? The P is silent, right? Similar to Django, the D is silent, right? So think about that, right? So let's kick things off, right? So I wouldn't say that I have seen all of Sammy's films, right? I haven't seen all of them, right? I haven't seen every single appearance that he ever been in as far as film and TV goes, right? There's some films, there were some appearances that I saw ages ago, and they like I just kind of forget about them or I don't remember much about them, like say Deep Blue Sea or whatnot. Just like bit parts, you know what I mean? But one thing about Samuel Jackson is that a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but I would say some people tend to think that like some people kind of tend to forget that he's just a damn great actor. You know what I mean? Just across the board, right? But I think it's because of his integration, sorry, into pop culture, right? That we all think that he could kind of do this in his sleep. He doesn't have to do much. He just have to talk cool and drop a f-bomb or whatnot, right? But now I mean, even though he has started in some trash films and some guilty pleasure films and even in like some great MCU films, right? He is still I would say still one of the best African American actors working in the game right now, right? Ashton, if it is want to share like just a minute or two on Samuel Jackson as an actor.
Right. So Samuel L. Jackson. My thoughts on Samuel L. Jackson is that, as I said, he is so integrated into pop culture. There are people out here who probably never seen a movie with him, but no references of him, such as say what again, motherfucker. Snakes on a
Of
motherfucking
course,
plane.
Pulp Fiction, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, snakes on a motherfucking plane. Um, what does BMF stand for? Bad motherfucker. That's what's on my wallet. You know?
Yeah, yeah,
So people know these kind of things about Samuel L. Jackson, but they might not necessarily know who he is. And I realize that nowadays that's becoming more prevalent because younger people are just picking up on memes or gifs, right? Or gifs, or however you want to say it. And that goes to speak to his iconicness in my mind, you know. And as I said, he's one of the best black actors still doing it in the game currently. But I mean, yo, just think of a Deep Blue Sea. That had
yeah.
to been some of the most inspired acting by this man. The man gave the speech of a lifetime, and
I know.
well, if you haven't seen Deep Blue Sea, I suggest you go watch it to find out how the speach ends. It was
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
interesting. Yeah, it was real good. But all in all, I love Samuel L. Jackson. I always like his no apologize for my thoughts and words kind of vibe that he gives off. And yeah, man, Sammy, he'll be this is Ptolemy Gray, right? Ptolemy Gray.
Yeah, well, Ptolemy, yeah.
Ptolemy Gray, right? I want to look at it, but I remember I asked you a question on Messenger, but you never responded to me, so I just never got around to it.
Oh, snap, snap. Well, what? Remind me again what the question was.
The
Sorry, I forgot.
question was, is this a period piece?
Okay. No, it's not. It's contemporary, right?
Oh,
But
good,
I'll
because
get
yo,
into.
I'm fed up of period pieces. Like, geez.
Oh, okay. Well, no,
Yeah.
it's not that, right? But I'll get to what the show is about, right? Ricardo, any two words on Sammy?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great career, one of his first big roles is Coming to America. Love him in that. That was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just he just was a person who just iconographic as a black actor. People associate him with one of the most popular black actors. Again, another great classic one-liners. Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
Yes.
Um, it's just a bunch of great roles. You have Dietary, Pulp Fiction. He's one of the greatest working actors. I think you have like, one of the biggest runs, like in terms of total amount of movies. Probably, I think, pound for pound the most, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else to say about him in terms of he became Nick Fury, and that cemented his in the popular consciousness. as Nick Fury, but he was doing stuff from a long time. Probably one of the longest working actors since the 80s and 90s, hardest working. I think he had a drug problem in the early days. What's the movie he was in with Halle Berry in it?
Jungle Fever, yeah.
Jungle Fever, right. Pretty good in that. That was like one of the good first classic roles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he got an honorary Oscar, if I remember correctly. That was recent. That was in the recent Oscars that no one talked about with him. They talked about a certain slap.tm. So yeah, he's like a pretty good actor, and I like him for what he is.
Yeah. So what this show is about, right? So it centers on the character of Ptolemy Gray, right? He is pretty much his geriatric. He's a widower. He pretty much just lives on his own in this apartment. He's a hoarder, so he just has a whole set of stuff like just taking up a whole bunch of room in his apartment, right? And the only person who really kind of takes care of him is his great nephew, right? Reggie Lloyd, who is played by Omar Benson Miller. Was the last time you saw him in anything, huh? And I'll bring this up. There's a lot of people. Like, you'll see a lot of faces. It's like, oh yeah, me see you. Like, oh yeah, you was in this show. Like, they have a lot in this, right? So it's established early on that that Ptolemy is suffering from Ptolemy, right? Is suffering from
Ptolemy, like the Greek guy.
Right, which he does bring up. He does bring up the origin of the name, right? So he is suffering from Alzheimer's, right? So in the first episode in particular, we kind of seeing the world through his eyes. We're seeing how he retains memory and how he loses it, right? He also goes back to when he was young, you know what I mean? Growing up down in deep south, right? With, a bunch of sharecroppers and stuff like that, right? Having viewed racism and whatnot, right? But then also, there's this father figure by the name of Coy Dog, right? Who is played by Damon Gupton. If you remember him, he was Chief Henderson from Black Lightning.
Okay, right.
But don't worry, there's more coming, right? So yeah. So what happens is that, well, we just kind of see early on just the relationship between him and his great nephew, right? But then we learn later on, or actually, well, we don't see it, but we learn later on that Reggie got killed, right? Like, actually got shot in the head, right? And he actually attends the wake. He sees the body. He has a meltdown. You know what I mean? And at the time, like, the show actually does this very well, where they're not telling him what happened because they were under the impression that he knew, right? But it kind of plays off in such a way like, oh, like you didn't hear, like nobody told you. So, the show kind of plays on, the whole memory stuff, right? So with that being said, at the wake itself, he meets a young woman by the name of Robin, who is played by Dominique Fishback. Last time I saw her was in Judas and the Black Messiah, right? Again, just seeing faces like, oh, you in this, right? And she is pretty much stayed with a relative of Ptolemy, right? Who is played by Deron Horton. If you remember him, he played Lionel Higgins from Dear White People. He was the nerdy gay dude. But in this case, he like this, how to say, he's just this dumbass, like, wannabe thief, basically, right? So he just has this way that he always tries to steal from Ptolemy, because he's basically go and get the get a pension and whatnot. So like he's trying to steal like 100 from him and all that kind of stuff. I say, oh no, that's how much I gave you, right? So it's a great scene how that plays out, right? So Robin actually kind of leaves though, well, she says she gets kicked out, but she actually leaves because she just doesn't like the environment of where she's staying at, right? Right. So the relative, his name is Nisi. That's her name, right? So she leaves Nisi, and basically pretty much stays by Ptolemy, right? So she cleans up the place, she's taking care of him and whatnot, and they form this really strong bond, right? But while all this is going on now, they learn, well, both of them learn that Reggie had signed his great grandfather up for, great uncle up basically for this scientific procedure that is meant to more or less curb the conditions of Alzheimer's, right? One of the doctors working there is called Dr. Rubin. He's played by Walton Goggins. It's like, hey, Hateful Eight collaboration, reunion. Right. If you remember their moments together in Hateful Eight, it's like, okay, I see what this show doing here. All right. In a sense, well, yeah, Toby is one of the few individuals who is going through this procedure, right? And the show frames it very well, where it's not just the fact that he's old, but also he's black, right? So they kind of touch on it like very, very, very mildly, but you know that they touch on race here in terms that it's basically, old black people being used as guinea pigs in this thing, right?
Right.
So he actually
Yeah,
goes through it.
Kind of Tuskegee kind of thing going on.
Yes, exactly. But I do love the fact that the show didn't stop and blatantly tell you, hey, this is what we talk about here. But when you look at it, it's like, yeah, that's some Tuskegee, sorry, shit right there, right? So but surprisingly, the treatment actually works, right? But he is warned early on that there will be some side effects, basically. Well, basically, the side effect is that like soon enough, the cure, the formula itself, sorry, will wear off now, and then he will lose his memory, right? And it might go even worse. He might even lose his life as well, too, right? So now that he has his mental back, so to speak, now,
Right. So
now
it's that kind of what's called by Algeron kind of something too. So okay.
yeah. Right. Yeah, yes, you're right. Don't catch me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically he decides, you know what, I gotta find who killed Reggie.
Right.
And while all this is going on, we're learning a lot more about his life, his family, how his family members look at him, and of course just his relationship with Robin, right? And I'll stop there, right? So all the praise and all that stuff we was talking about Samuel Jackson at the beginning of this review here, right? I have to throw it again right here, boy. This is easily one of, if not the best performance I have ever seen from Samuel Jackson, Dread. This is coming from somebody who have seen this guy in films from since the late 80s. And I'm telling you, this is probably the best performance he's ever given, Dread. And, it's kind of hard to see that too, because then you want to look at all the other films that he started before, right? But, it wasn't like, and this is why I was bringing up all this stuff about Samuel in the first place, right? Why people would really look at him as this, great actor, right? So compare him to somebody like, say, a Denzel Washington, or to a lesser extent, a Will Smith, right? Sorry, I had to shoehorn him into this, where it's like he picks these specific roles, right? Which are Oscar worthy, or they're designed to be nominated for Oscars, right? But I don't think there was ever one that Samuel was ever nominated for. I don't think that he got a nomination for Pulp Fiction, right? That's still one of the best performances he ever gave, right?
Right.
The point is, you will just look at him, right, and see him in these MCU shows, and you just kind of tell yourself, you know what, I don't know if I should have him up there with like the Denzels and the Sidney Poitiers and whatnot, But I would say, again, with this miniseries here, and by the way, it's just 6 episodes, guys, right? But this miniseries alone, boy, will make you kind of, just change that perception, boy. Because again, he just knocked it out of the park, but he just came through with a fantastic performance. You do buy into him as this guy in the 70s who is suffering with dementia. The first episode in particular is kind of rough to sit through, boy, because. But I should say for me personally, because if you remember, I covered Anthony Hopkins' film *The Father* from last year, right? Which
I was thinking of that film, yeah.
Yeah. Especially how that ending just broke me down there, you know what I mean? Because of the helplessness, right? So thankfully, this show doesn't stress too much on it, though, on the helplessness of me, of the character himself, sorry, not being able to retain, memory, or not being able to function properly, you know what I mean, as a human being, right? But those moments, though, really do hit, though. They really do hit, right? But it's a nice setup in terms of what the story eventually will be, right? I didn't expect the whole medical stuff to come in, but it works very well, right? And similar to The Father, this is yet another show where you have to trust the writer or the creator, right? It's Walter Mosley. He's the guy who created and wrote the story itself, right? I think this is actually based off of his novel, actually. I believe this is
whose novel?
Walter Mosley.
Okay. Oh, okay. It's written by Walter Mosley. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I actually thought he was gonna get like directing credits or whatnot, but no, they actually get some people to direct. You even get Debbie Allen to direct an episode. Like, what? Okay.
Right, soon.
Yeah, they get Guillermo Navarro to direct a couple episodes. Like, all right, bro. Right. Okay, big names, right? But yeah, so the show. So I I went into this kind of trusted that this is not some kind of far-fetched kind of thing. Not just the treatment that he goes through, but the way how they portray dementia, how they portray Alzheimer's, right?
Right.
So I was just trusting the show to tell me, okay, so it may not be 100% real, but it is logical. It makes sense, right? It's not some kind of far-fetched thing, right? And also similar to the father, like that they didn't use that dementia thing as some kind of gimmick, like, oh, I'm seeing this, but this is not real, and all that kind of stuff. I like that they didn't come out like that, right? But with that being said, though, there is some great, character development in terms of his in terms of him, right? You really learn a lot about who he's from. You actually learn like a lot about his relationships with women, right? In particular, girl that he knew when he was down in the deep south as a kid, right? When he was like 7 years old, right? And a really impactful moment involving her, right? That's all I'll say without spoiling it, right? Also impactful moment involving Koi Dog, right? Involving some racist white men, right? That's all I'll say too, right? But really just back to the woman, right? Because there's this particular woman by the name of Cynthia, who's played by Cynthia McWilliams. I know I've seen it in a show somewhere. And yeah, she basically is the love interest for Ptolemy, right? They met in the 70s, and actually, her boyfriend at the time was played by Will Catlett. If you remember him, he's the one who played Lala from Black Lightning. You know what I mean? Right. Tattoo man. I'm like, hey, you, Jesus Christ, you with this, right? Speaking of that, right? So I don't want to call this a nitpick, but I know it might be for some people. So because that section is in the 70s, yeah, they had to do some deep fake. They had to use some deepfake. So what I would say is that the Samuel that you see here looks very, very like early 90s. Like I'm talking I'm talking Pulp Fiction / Long Kiss Goodnight looking Samuel Jackson. The
thing is, most of that work already done in thing, so I'm sure like they take the whatever the templates or whatever it is he's had to do from
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why that way like it kind of weird that they don't do deep fakes for other people because you have to put in the work and the effort, but like they could just repeat it. I suspect that they totally recycle that shit.
Probably. Yeah. Maybe they just get the same software. They get the same
scanning tech, however it is.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, the same project for all we know.
Yeah,
this is user, right? But yeah, they use some deep fake, and I would say, like this doesn't take away from the show, right? But I just saying, like, it's quite effective, man. It works, right? But when you look at it, he reminds me of also too. He looks literally like when he was in Men's Society with Keen Father.
Right.
It's that. I'll tell you, it's early Samuel Jackson, right? Like in the 90s. That's how he looks, right? But it works in terms of, set up his character as well, too, right? And this is what I love in terms of, Dominique Fishback's character as Robin, right? Because, she's a caretaker here, but, it's almost like the daughter she never had. Also, although it's not blatantly, it's not explicitly stated, but, he sees a bit of sense here in her, right? In terms of how loving she is, right? It'll be how considerate she is to him and his needs and his and well-being and whatnot, right? Which leads to a subplot. This is not a spoiler, where he does his will and he basically wants to take his money now because there's another subplot involving some gold coins that Koi Dog basically told me at a young age to bury for him, right? Just make sure, if it's one thing to remember, just make sure you remember where those gold coins are, right? I.e. treasure, as he calls it, right? They build some considerable amount of tension here in terms of Ptolemy's search for Reggie's killer, right? And I'm not gonna say where it leads to, but I would say as far as I wouldn't say this is a gripe for me, but I know for some people they might find that because you actually see who it is near the end of the show, right? That's all I'll say, right? For some, they might find the reveal and eventual conversation to be kind of on the cliche end, you know what I mean? Because it's Samuel Jackson, so you have to, he's a guy who could do monologues very well. He could do these really like tense conversations, right? Like look at Pulp Fiction, for example, right? That scene with the wallet, for example, right? In the diner. Look at that, right? So they kind of do something like that there too. But I feel like they just did it kind of purposefully because of who the actor is there, right? But I know some people might watch that and especially the outcome of that and find it to be kind of disappointed. That's all I'll say. But I don't think it is. I think it actually works in terms of the story being told. You know, be like, in the real world, things wouldn't play out like that, right? So even though he had a plan laid out, that's all I'll say. Don't spoil it too much. It didn't play out that way. That's all I'll say. And just where the show ends as well too was quite powerful for me. That's where they wrapped up that particular point, right? It's rather ambiguous, but I think it's kind of obvious given the title what happens to him at the end, right? That's all I'll say. Performances, you know what I mean, outside of Samuel Jackson. I thought that everybody came and did their thing. Dominique Fishback, right? Last time I saw her again was in Judas and the Black Messiah and Project Power. Forgot to mention that.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because I haven't seen her in a hot minute, right? I was watching her, right? So it's kind of a little minor spoiler, right? So she's played a 17-year-old girl, right? And I just watching she like, but you in your 20s, right?
Yeah, well,
and it's only like
after
the show. After the show, I went on Wikipedia. She's 31, you know.
Okay,
I'm
wow.
like, wow, boy.
Yeah, okay.
Wow, boy. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's bad casting and whatnot, but it's just kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird. It's just kind of weird.
A
Right?
popular enough actor, but yeah, it's a little younger. It's a bit stretch.
Yeah. Because I don't think like I'm not sure what her age was in this show, Project Power, but it was. I don't think it was that young, right? Or it could be wrong.
No,
right?
I think she was in high school.
Yeah, all right. That's what threw me off too because the high school setting. I didn't watch it. She early 20s or something like that, like a Storm Reed or something like that, right? But it's like 31, like okay. But anyway,
how long Project Power was out? Like 2 years ago, so you'd be 29, 28.
About right. So you know we can't talk about a woman age, right? Haha, right. But anyway, but yeah, I thought that Dominique was great as well too. You know, just the chemistry that she have with Sammy was great too. She's very no nonsense. You know what I mean? She'll tell you as it is though, but she is very considerate, right? She wears her heart on her sleeve and whatnot, right? There's a nice little subplot involving her and this young man who kind of falls for her, right? And honestly, I don't blame him, right? And you know, it's sweet. It's lovely, right? I love it, right? Also, just that dynamic between her and Ptolemy's family members work as well, right? You know, especially with how they just kind of trying to break she down because you're a family and you want to take our money because they literally spinning this narrative that she there basically to take the man money because he old and he about to die or whatnot. He lose the mind, blah blah blah. So yeah, she kind of just come into his life basically to take his money, right? But I love that how they use that into the story. That's all I'll say, right? But at its heart, the show just really touches on it's a common theme these days, but it's still a really really potent one. Just marginalization. I mean, especially with African Americans, right? And as this show proves, why it's even worse when you're old, boy. Like it's even worse. Much to my disbelief, but still, boy, it's like wow, boy, like. To be an old black man in the States where is really, really, really rough, you know what I mean? So I love how the show touches on that, right? But not in a shoving this idea down your throat kind of vibe about it, right? It tells a story. And in a way, it's not just a drama, it's not just a character study, but also somewhat of a murder mystery as well, too, because, while all this is going on, we still trying to figure out, who killed Reggie, right? The reveal of it isn't all that amazing or shocking, but how it plays out, though, I thought was very, very, very well handled, in my opinion. Right? I know for some people, they might find it to be kind of cliche or derivative, but I think it works, right? Yeah. And again, before just to wrap up, just a couple more things, right? I thought that the writing was strong as well, though. It's great cinematography as well too. They do a really similar to The Father, but in a much more creative way, in my opinion. I love how they use memories in this, how they transition from memories, how they symbolize it, certain colors, certain items and whatnot.
Right.
And how it explores just basically with, just the human mind and how we really like latch on to certain things, right? And how we forget certain things, unfortunately, right? Not the most original idea ever, but just the way how they portrayed here was great, man. The direction was strong throughout, writing was great. Dialogue was great as well, too. I forgot to mention set in Atlanta as well, too. So you get that sort of like gritty Atlanta life. Basically,
Right.
there's one particular character, this crackhead like lady who keeps like trying to attack Ptolemy because he owes me money and all that kind of stuff. And there's a moment involving her and Robin. That was awesome. I love it. That's all I'll say. But at the heart of it all is really Samuel Jackson, who carries this show on his shoulders, and he just again knocks it out the park too. And like I said early on before, if you've ever like doubted this man's validity as an actor, boy, watch this, and yeah, you will change your mind instantly, man. So yeah, as you figure already, this is one of the best shows I've seen in 2022 so far. So I'm giving this a light 4.5 out of 5, man. It's on Apple TV right now. It's only 6 episodes.
Right.
Each episode clocks in at about an hour, so that's just like 6 hours. But I
Right.
ran through this literally yesterday. Times recording here, I ran through it easy, and I was just like digging the hell out of all of this, man. I was really enjoying it.
The last project with Sam Jackson I watched, and that also was on Apple TV. Well, other ignoring Avengers stuff is The Banker. That was okay.
I heard of that too, though.
Yeah.
Was it good? Because I hear some
Yeah,
people
no,
say
it was fine.
okay. Some
It's
people
fine.
was kind of iffy about it.
No, what happened is that it had a big controversy around the things. It got delayed and it had a whole thing. But yeah,
Right.
it was all right.
All right, yeah. This one hit me. It hit me in the feels, a number of times though. But you could watch it normal and enjoy it and have fun with it, man. You know what I mean? And of course, just Samuel just knocking it out of the park just every time he's on screen, man. So yeah, can't recommend this show enough. I strongly recommend checking out The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray.
Nice one.